How did you start Postmortem Studios? How can I get a business grant or set up a company without one?
Story time then, I guess. Where I got my start depends where you want to start. And a lot of it is irrelevant to how people would get their start today. So when I first started producing my own material, I was producing bootleg fanzine stuff that was technically illegal. I guess I did a London supplement for Cyberpunk that was a photocopied pamphlet that I sold with flagrant disregard for rules that I didn't understand, because I was only, 15, 16 maybe at the time. So you could say that was my start. Or you could say the one issue of a fanzine for a play-by physical mail game that I did was my start. Or the photocopied little comic and fanzine I did when I was at secondary school. You could say that was my start. I don't know where you would draw the line exactly. Now, when I left school, left college, I thought about starting a proper company, and I applied for a special grant, not a loan, a grant that was being offered to youth what was starting their own businesses at the time. It would have been about £5,000, $6,000 back then. Probably the value is probably getting on for quite a lot more now if you updated it. And I put together a business plan. I had people who wanted to work with me. We had statistics and projections based upon what small companies were doing at the time, like Nightfall and some of the other companies that had come up in a similar sort of period. And our business plan was considered too good. And so we were determined not to need the grant. So as a result, that didn't happen. That was a false start. But I don't think the projections that we put together then would be true now. I think the profit margin has gone down since then, and it wasn't particularly great at the time. So then there were the wilderness years, I suppose. Did some freelancing. Got together with one of my friends who had offered to work for the company that I wanted to set up. I did the Munchkin's Guide to Power Gaming, which did really well. Much as I would love to say that was to do with talent, I think there's an element of luck involved there as well. Your first project is unlikely to immediately win an award and so on. That's not particularly likely to happen. And that ended up with me being pigeonholed in doing comedy gaming writing, which is a niche of 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 a niche. So that's not recommended, I'd say. So then I worked in the Normieverse and did a lot of freelancing for some time. Before I lost my job in the .com crash, and so I was just getting unemployment and doing the occasional bit of freelance work, which continually fucked up my unemployment payments. So then I ended up saying, fuck it, I'll start my own RPG company with blackjack and hookers. And I got a bit of seed money. We're not talking Donald Trump here. We're talking like £500, $600 to get my start, which I've now made many, many times over. So I think you could start with a similar amount. The barriers to entry are extremely low. You've just got to be really careful, I think, cautious. Just by trying, you're already ahead of 90% of people who will never even bother trying, right? That's the big difference, the big advantage. And if you make something that you like and you're proud of, that's a good guide to what other people will like and will purchase. Of course, the market is a lot more flooded now. It's harder to get noticed, but I think you could start for something as low as that. And saving up $500, that's in the reach of most people. I think if you really make the effort, and you will make your money back, not necessarily hugely quickly, but you can produce a product for that amount of money or less, and then hopefully away you go. So I don't think you need loans or grants. I would avoid that if at all possible. Borrow from friends and family, not from banks, things like that, right? Or just squirrel away a couple of bucks, a couple of quid, every few days, and it won't take too long for you to get there. And just make sure you've got a separate account so you can keep track of how well your business is actually doing. So that's what I would say. Just squirrel away a small amount of money and get your start that way, and hopefully you'll be successful.